The story for all of you people playing fantasy, the story for all of you people gambling on games, not on fantasy, is that you better have a deep bench. I hate being right when it comes to this. Coke and I spent so much time talking about the reality of the NFL season. Coke actually told me before the show today that he was offered to be in a fantasy league, this hugely expensive fantasy league. And he didn't want to do it because he was so positive, having talked through it on the show, that the injuries were going to be out of control this season. And we said without preseason, there was a major problem. Well, it took all of 2 weeks. Every time you looked up, there was a game-changing injury. Did it make any bad teams worse? That's not as big a story as making a great team good. Saquon Barkley, the Giants' number 2 pick, the player who they plan to build around, missed time last year with a high ankle sprain. This year, he goes out yesterday, likely a torn ACL, out for the whole season. If you're running that team and you're the Giants, you are despondent beyond repair because he was your only hope. Certainly not going to be Daniel Jones. Maybe they're trying to get Trevor Lawrence. The reality is that that's a bad team that's now worse. How about the San Francisco 49ers? Super Bowl team last year. Can you name, I did this exercise this weekend preparing for the show, going backwards, remembering Super Bowl winners. I remember the Chiefs won, couldn't remember who they beat. The Niners. The Niners were the NFC champions. I then remembered they'd beaten the Packers in the NFC championship. Unbelievable defense. What happens? One of their top defensive players, named Nick Bosa. We've actually mentioned him on the show, I think. Hurt his leg, out. Don't worry, we've got an offense. Garoppolo is their quarterback, out with an ankle. This is a team that was tied with the second best odds to win the Super Bowl. This is a great team that with these injuries may only be good. Was this because there was no preseason? That's my view. The coach of the Niners disagrees wholeheartedly. His name is Kyle Shanahan. Remember, his father was a coach named Mike Shanahan, who coached the Broncos and the Raiders, I believe, at least. It's amazing as I get older how many sons of coaches are now coaches, or sons of referees are now referees. James Capers is an NBA conference finals referee. I was there when his dad was reffing games. So Kyle Shanahan, big-time coach, was playing a team called the New Jersey Jets, who stink. They're the New York Jets, sorry. Why do I call them? They play in Jersey. That's funny. Kyle Shanahan took the microphone after the game and lost his mind. You know, MetLife Stadium has turf. It's the new thing now. They're doing it in baseball. The Marlins just put turf in. It's not like the old days of AstroTurf, like at the old Olympic Stadium in Montreal, where knees went to break. If you ask Andre Dawson, the Hall of Fame baseball player who played in Montreal, what cost you your career? He's a Hall of Famer. The answer is nothing. What hurt you the most, causing you to replace your knees when you got older? He'd take 1 second and say the turf in Montreal. It's like playing on cement. I actually played a game on the turf in Montreal. Brought a bunch of friends up in 2000 or 2001, and we played after one of our games. It was insane how sore we were, forgetting the fact that we were old. Just playing one game, and it was a 7-inning game, like a game one of a doubleheader. Kyle Shanahan called out the turf, the current turf, with all of the technological improvements, called it out and said, it's trash, it's sticky. The problem with sticky turf is if you have the wrong cleats and you're not wearing the right turf cleats, that's redundant, and your foot sticks and you plant and move, except your foot doesn't move after you plant, goodbye ankle, goodbye knee, goodbye leg. Have you ever gone skiing and you're in a ski boot and you fall and you don't release from your ski binding? You break your leg. That's why you have to release. Do you ever water ski and you fall and your ski comes off and you have to swim after it? Thank God, or you'd break your leg. If you plant on turf and don't move, you are screwed. Don't worry, though. The Niners aren't alone. How about Christian McCaffrey? Ever heard of Christian McCaffrey? The guy who had 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving last year? Do you know how many players have done that in history? 3. Roger Craig, played for the Niners back in the day. Marshall Faulk, played for the Rams back in the day. 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving. Number 1 pick in every fantasy draft. Gone. See you later. Multiple weeks. Now, in a baseball season, you say, you're missing a few weeks, whatever. In a football season, that could be 25% of the year if you miss 4 games. Teams could take advantage of that. Maybe the Broncos are poised to take advantage even though they can't win a game. Nope. Their quarterback, shoulder injury, 2 to 6 weeks for Drew Lock after they had lost Von Miller. The list is a who's who, from David Montgomery to the rookie wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Adams, Byron Jones. I'm not here to list the injured list. I'm here to say that the NFL has this problem and it's not called COVID. The problem is that with no preseason games, you are in a position where you are putting your players in jeopardy. We're not talking about concussions, which can come no matter what. I'm not saying it's the turf. I'm saying that these players are getting hurt because they were not game ready, even though it's just week 2. We are seeing a rash of injuries these first 2 weeks that is inexplicable for any other reason other than what was different. Training camp was the same amount of time. They were in shape. The difference is they did not get to hit anyone who wasn't a member of their own locker room. And then you go to full speed immediately. It's hard to do. I'm going to give you a wait to see early in the show. Wait to see is when we tell you we think something's going to happen. And if it does, we're going to follow up and tell you it did. If it doesn't, we'll follow up and tell you that we were wrong. Wait to see is this is a long-term one. I've got a few short-term ones to talk about. I like the long-term ones because you'll think I'll forget, but I keep track, and I'll remember either way, I promise. In 2021, while the owners may not like it and the players don't want to do it, there will be a minimum of 2 preseason games. The reason why I think that is that the owners are realizing that paying players not to play is not helpful to them winning games. The players are going to realize that in a league where contracts are not guaranteed, being hurt is the single worst thing you can have happen to you as a football player. In baseball, you're hurt. Who cares? Guaranteed. Football, not so much. There will be a minimum of 2 preseason games starting next season.